noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious back in the bunker. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're trying to rep America, the center, common sense, and party poppers. Yeah. There we go. All right. So we'll kick it off by explaining the title of the episode. Here come the consequences. Yeah, we're starting to see the results of some of these dumb plans, aren't we? Starting to see how things don't really work the way they were intended to work. But first, got to start off with a little bit of sad news. Vin Scully, voice of the Dodgers for a lot of years, passed away on Tuesday. You know, he was kind of the voice of my childhood to some degree. Him and Casey Kasem. It's a different story. But yeah, Vin was everything that I wish announcers would be, you know. Entertaining, you know. I watch a lot of English soccer. They don't say much over there. But in America, it's just run your mouth. Try to prove how smart you are. Right, Kitty? Yeah, Kitty agrees. Kitty hates a few of these people out there that do the announcing. And their names are all escaping me right now. Well, we don't have very good announcers. Chris Collingsworth, there. He's one of the worst. So, as Vin would say, hey, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you wherever you may be. Pull up a chair and spend part of the day with us. Well, I hope you want to spend a little bit of time with me. You know, I've been doing this coming up on 2.5 years. Do it every single week. I put in hours of work. Don't see a lot of the fruits, but you know what? It's not about the fruits, man. It's about the tree. It's about growing that strong tree. From there, we can start branching off and having fruits. But if you want to help me build some fruits, you know, like and subscribe and turn on the notifies. You know, say something down below. Just say hi, peace, whatever, man. Let me know. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if I'm wrong. But let's kick off this shindig. I found this one quite alarming. In Sweden, there's a credit card that blocks you if you exceed your CO2 limit. We are really, we're going a bit crazy here. You know, I understand that, but, you know, are you taking long showers? Are you properly recycling? You know, these are things that I do. You know, I turn off the water when I shampoo. You know, I turn it off, lather up, turn it back on. And you hear me on here seemingly always ranting about the Democrats and the liberals. And that's not what it's about. I'm ranting about the lack of common sense. So if you want to pay a bunch for a credit card, which is a bad idea in the first place, high interest and all that, you know, hey, good for you. I found this one to be fascinating, and I need to scratch the surface a little bit more on it. But apparently, LA has such a high water table that there are places that just pump the water out of their basements or their basement garages or whatever it may be. They just pump it into the sewer system, where eventually it just flows out into the ocean and it's gone. Some places, see, talking about common sense, some places pump the groundwater out of their lower levels and use it in their cooling systems. Big cooling towers. You know, they're like giant ACs, basically, that just run water over whatever. That's a whole complex subject. But it's just sitting right there, and we can't get to it. I mean, I could just imagine the type of red tape that would be involved in drilling a well in the middle of Los Angeles. Whew. The environmental stuff. And how would it affect the street people? Oh, you know, how would it affect all those meth heads? You know, we were talking about, here come the consequences. Steve Hilton, I don't know where he's from. I think it's Fox News. I don't know. I don't really watch things that are biased anyway, one way or the other. Although Fox News supposedly is one of the less biased ones. But that's a different argument. But he was talking about how in Biden's inaugural address, he never talked about the economy. Well, you know, the economy under Trump was doing great. There was a blue-collar boom, lowest unemployment levels we've ever seen, especially for women, black people, and Latinos. You know, we were a net energy exporter. Our gasoline was at least somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 cheaper. But he never talked about it because he had no plan. And those were the consequences. The consequences of focusing in on, he's not Trump, right? So, that was the intent. He's not Trump, and he's going to unify us because he'll bring America back. And what did he do? He sank it. And then we shoot ourselves in the foot. These are the kind of monkeys we have running the government. The U.S. handed green battery tech discovery worth millions of taxpayer dollars to China. Apparently, these batteries, these vanadium redox flow batteries, can power an entire house for decades. You could charge it off solar. And we just let it go. And why did we let it go? Probably because there wasn't any money. See, why must they govern this way? Must be the money. I mean, that's the only explanation. We're looking to go green, and we give up something that valuable, and we give it, and we don't give it to, like, say, a cool country like Japan, or a country that could maybe, use some propping up a little bit, throw it around the world. You got all kinds of European, Eastern European countries, South America, you have Central America. Fuck, give it to the goddamn Canadians. That would be better than giving it to the Chinese. So one of the reasons why consequences, the actual end result, not your intended end result, but the actual end result matters so much to me is because I reside in California. And in California, we are this experiment of liberal ideas. And when the consequences come due, as they do, we feel it, and we feel it hard. California is not a model for the nation. It is a warning to the nation. Kevin Kiley, young guy, running for one of the House seats. Okay, good luck. I hope you can do it. You say the right thing, so let's see. If you get in, let's see what you can do. I'm rooting for you. I think you're smart. Look at some of this stuff. The LA Times thinks Gascon is the real victim of the crime surge. Really? Why, was he robbed? The New York Times tries to blame Republicans for Biden's border crisis. I didn't even bother reading that because that is just too cuckoo for my brain. All right? And here, Newsom's endorsing 1.6 billion credits for, film and TV. Yay, at least that helps the local economies. But then he asked Hollywood to stop filming in conservative Georgia and Oklahoma. Okay, I can see that. But you're not elected to go around and pick fights unless you're trying to, oh, Jesus. Oh, sweet, merciful Lord above. Please don't let this be true. But we know it. We know it to be true right here. We know. He's running for president. So let's talk about some stupid shit. Okay? Some of these consequences. Some of these ideas that how? Okay? California wants to be the leader in the environment. Okay? We know this. This is a fact, an undisputable fact. California wants to be the world leader in the environment. But yeah, when they catch an international cartel growing illegal marijuana in California, and as we can see here, the illegal pesticides that they use immediately kills wildlife up to the size of a bear. We don't have much here bigger than a bear. Maybe some bison, but they're over on Catalina. The sheriff department wanted to charge them with a felony, which alleges that the suspects violated a water code pertaining to hazardous runoff. No. Our investigators were unable to convince prosecutors to file felony charges. The filing DA and the presiding judge, activist judge, I'm sure, said that it was overcharged by using the felony section. So what did they get? Okay, a few of them were busted for other crimes like guns and things like that, okay? But the majority of the people who are using illegal pesticides that kill wildlife up to the size of bears got a misdemeanor for operating a marijuana grow operation without a license. Yeah. Pollute the environment, using up water, scaring locals, killing wildlife. Bears have died from this. Bears have actually died from drinking water that was tainted with these pesticides, and they're going to get a ticket. The same thing you would get if you parked in a handicap zone. Oh, here's another great idea. Proposed ordinance would require hotels in LA to rent vacant rooms to the unhoused. Ooh, but kid, that sounds like a good idea. Really? It's not a good idea. It's a cop-out. Most of the people who are unhoused that are on our streets are drug addicts or people with mental problems. We should have sympathy for them, but we need to get them in the system so that we can treat them. We can cure them to some degree, but at least get them off the drugs. Maybe make them stable enough to go live with family or friends or just live with roommates. I'm sorry, but you can't have meth heads living with roommates. But imagine that. You come out here from, let's say, Cleveland to go to Disneyland or to go to Universal Studios, since that's in LA. You're going to get the full experience. You're going to get to see people taking a dump on the side of Starbucks. You could possibly be a victim of a robbery. But then when you go back to the so-called safety of your hotel, there may be a meth addict right next to you. And the hotels are supposed to deal with that, whether they want to be a part of the program or not. They're going to force the hotels to do this. Again, California is a very unfriendly to business place. Wow, that was a mouthful. Yeah, so here we saw this earlier. The recall movement, that's the LA Times down at the bottom there. The recall movement against District Attorney George Gascon is you know what? It's his fault. They had an opportunity to charge those guys. They had an opportunity to charge the fentanyl dealers who have seemingly vanished, because when you release people on their own recognizance, you better hope that those people have some moral fiber, or they're not going to come back. Look at that. Yep. So why? He keeps letting them right back on the streets. But according to the LA Times, Gascon is the real victim. Yeah, this Gascon. The Gascon who, when he was getting yelled at by the mom of a murder victim, and the DA won't charge the murderer with anything that would, he takes life without parole off the board, so the murderer is going to get to live his life at some point. She yells at Gascon, and Gascon responds, as you've probably already read, "It's unfortunate that some people do not have enough education to keep their mouth shut so we can talk." That's how little they care. Look, it's not just about bad ideas. It's about elitism. One of the reasons why, when I was younger, I was not a Republican was I believed them to be elitist. I don't want to be run by people who think they're better than me. Okay? They work for us. Okay? You really don't want the employees being smarter than the bosses, right? I guess. And yet, that's what we do here in California. We allow dumbass elitists to run the show. Gascon is a failure. All right? It's one thing to reform. It's one thing to go after corrupt cops or racist DAs or racist period or bad people. But what he's doing is insane. You had an opportunity to charge this illegal marijuana grow operation with a felony for polluting the water. Your side, the liberals, are supposed to be the ones who care the most about water. I'm sorry. I don't vote for Democrats. I don't vote for liberals, and I don't vote for idiots, and I care about water more than just about everybody. All right? He opposes Gascon here. We're talking about this. He shrank the hardcore gang unit. He opposes sentencing enhancements for criminals who belong to gangs or use guns. He bends over backwards to give them lighter sentences. He wants to keep victims and other family members out of the process. He wants to make it easier for violent offenders to be paroled. And he's going to refuse life sentences without parole. So in Gascon's eyes, no matter how vicious and gruesome your crime may be, you will see the light of day. So go ahead and do it. What do you think, though, that illegal grow operation is going to do? If they pay, let's say they pay their ticket. They pay their ticket, they're going to start up somewhere else. There's no penalty. They're going to kill wildlife. They're going to pollute precious water and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it because nobody is going to drop the hammer on them. Dropping the hammer on monkeypox, going to go through this really quick. I mean, a state of emergency to fight monkeypox, but not fentanyl overdoses. We have 5,800 cases of monkeypox. This was a little bit earlier in the week. 827 in California. I don't even need to look at how many people die in that short span of time of fentanyl overdoses. And yet, we're not securing the border. We're not arresting and charging fentanyl dealers as they should be. And we're going to see a little bit more of that. But monkeypox is an emergency. Odd. Okay. Most people, 99%. But you know what, though? We already learned with COVID. 99% survival rate is just, oof, it's not good enough. Not good enough. Got to have an emergency. Okay. See, again, I don't want to be cruel to the people who live on the streets, the street people. I want to help the legitimate unhoused. Okay, but that does not include junkies and mental patients and illegal aliens. Okay, there's those three groups do belong somewhere else. They want to outlaw tent cities built near schools. In fact, they did outlaw tents because the consequences, like we were saying, the consequences have come home to roost, so to speak. And LA City Council's like, oh shit, we got to do something. This is really fucking bad, right? This is affecting the bottom line. But some guy here tweets out, or I don't know, it's just an action group. Fuck their bogus rules. This is what democracy looks like. Right. The Los Angeles Community Action Network, a group that bills itself as human rights defenders and truth tellers. Then tell the truth. They're drug addicts. They're drug addicts that are pumping up the small petty crimes, the little burglaries. And every now and then, they go in and they stab a poor girl to death. Stab her 26 times because, fuck it, they have nothing to lose. And they're not even going to get punished. And they're going to have all kinds of rights and privileges in prison. And they'll still be able to get their drugs. Because you know the drugs are in the prison. If you don't think the drugs are in the prisons, you're probably not watching this show. Because you couldn't figure out how to work your computer. Yeah, here we go again. Newsom, Mr. President. Yes, California may have the highest poverty rate. Yes, its poor governance and hostile business environment may be forcing hundreds of thousands to relocate. But he's going to give Hollywood a tax break. Okay, is that going to offset all the fines or fees that are going to be imposed upon them? No, it's not. And who the fuck cares? I don't care where they make the shows. Lots of stuff are still filmed here. No, whatever. Yeah, here's Newsom himself. Today, Hollywood will wake up to this ad. Wow. We're here for you. We're extending tax credits for those who come home to the Golden State. Choose freedom. Choose California. Ha! Do I really need to even touch on that? Choose freedom. How free do you feel in California? If you're from California, please let me know how free you feel down at the bottom. Because about the only thing that keeps me here, really, is the overpriced marijuana. Speaking of marijuana, what a segue. Did you like that one, Kitty? Yeah, Kitty liked it. Whew. Well, Becky Griner. The way they try to sell this as a sob story, saying that she only makes, $200,000 in salary. I'm sure she makes a lot in endorsement. She is worth $5 million. And I'm sure she'll get another mill for her book deal and TV rights. And, well, that'll probably add up. But she don't got to worry about money. But Brittney Griner has to go to Russia to play for their basketball league so she could earn $1 million. Okay. If the WNBA earned as much as the NBA and she was still being paid $200,000, I'd see a problem. People are paid their cuts. Here I am. Hi, I'm on YouTube. Do I get some of PewDiePie's money? No, I don't. I don't get Call Me Kevin's. No, Danny Gonzalez? No. No, Drew Gooden? Nope. He's not sending me any checks because we earn based on our viewership. So I earn nada. That's the way it works. But anyhow, so Griner goes over to Russia, gets popped for some vape. Here in America, probably no big deal. She's got fame and money. Even in a bad state for vape, like let's say Texas, she's probably going to do a weekend, maybe some community service, host a basketball game for, underrepresented neighborhoods or whatever they want to call them. But now, so she's going to be rewarded with 9 years of not hearing the U.S. national anthem. And Biden keeps going on saying she was wrongfully detained. Well, there's a lady over there who basically scratched a man with a knife. And she's going to be there for 14 years. And even the man said, yeah, it was just a scratch. It was like on his nose. And he had just gotten done pummeling the shit out of her. She was fearing for her life, grabbed a knife, and scratched him. And she's stuck in a gulag. Okay? There's lots of people stuck in Russia. I don't know. Wrongfully detained? In America? Possibly. In Russia? They don't follow our rules, folks. Okay? The people who you want to emulate, or some people want to emulate, don't care. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Marijuana hash in a vape pen is illegal, but vodka isn't. Yeah, I get it. I get that. But that's the way it is. So why go to Russia? Kamala Harris slammed as a hypocrite after Brittney Griner sentence. Yeah, Kamala there, in case you didn't know, used to lock up all kinds of people when she was DA. For marijuana. For marijuana. Okay? For the same thing that you're saying Griner is unlawfully detained. Huh. I mean, I don't like that woman, Kamala, at all. But that's not tainting my view of this. Okay? You can't turn around and say that Russia is too tough with your kind of record, dear. More consequences. Consequences. Thanks to Texas and Arizona for sending illegals to D.C. and NYC, Biden has actually started finishing the border wall. Why hasn't President Biden visited the southern border? See, he's all about green energy. That's it. Green energy in the far left. He doesn't care. The far left doesn't care if people just stream into our country and bring drugs. Well, this is one of my favorites from Defiant Els. Speaker of the House there, Oh, hey, Trump, where are the pesos for your bigoted wall? And now she comes out and says, well, he's not building the wall, he's filling major gaps because he's trying to save lives. Yeah, the border wall would have done the same thing. At least make it difficult. At least make these people work a little bit, not just simply with pounds and pounds of fentanyl in tow. Sorry, but that's what's happening. Being a sanctuary city is all fun and games until the migrants actually show up. First they called it a political stunt, and it's not. And D.C. and New York were like, oh gosh, those people are bad. But now that they're showing up, what are they doing? They're falling apart. They don't have the resources. Like I said, the migrants took advantage of the bus rides because the mayors of those cities declared themselves a sanctuary city. They boasted that diversity made them stronger and that the migrants were welcome. It's really easy when you're really north of the border, isn't it? But then the migrants came. And the same mayors are now calling for the National Guard. Well, that's pretty stiff. Pretty stiff. They were really happy to support Biden when it was happening in the Southwest. But once they start showing up, man, they're upset about it. And what's the truth? At the border, towns like Del Rio, they're not set up. D.C., okay. New York City, should be. But, as they're seeing, the leaders who were like, yes, bring them in, are now saying, See? We celebrate our... You know what? When he said this, his towns weren't being overrun. Texas towns were. And that's what a lot of this is about. Democrats, liberals, don't like Texas unless it's Austin. So, fuck them. Send all the immigrants. And the National Guard said, yeah. So they're not going to do anything. That's for FEMA. Again, FEMA, an emergency. So apparently, migrants show up to New York City and Washington, D.C., and suddenly people are paying attention. And the consequences have come home to roost. Really quickly, these were just a few, again, this is their reckless new inflation plan, inflation reduction plan. And here was some of the wasteful spending that was in it. They're going to teach contractors how to install electric stoves. I'm pretty sure they can do that. You'd probably just plug it in. And, of course, they're going to prop up the Postal Service because that's not dead yet. $3 billion going there. Oh, $3 billion to just give it to climate activists, a slush fund of sorts. Oh, boy. Disadvantaged communities. Who's disadvantaging them? They're mostly in democratically run cities. Underrepresented. Who's representing them? Mostly Democrats. Seriously. Oh, the tax credit. Guess what about the tax credits? We're going to find out. I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert here. It's not going to apply to a lot of cars. And then used cars. Right. Yeah, we've all already heard the stories. You know, you buy a used car and suddenly the batteries aren't available and you've got basically the world's biggest paperweight. BLM Sean King threatening reporters. Wow. You know, because he spent donor cash. That's what it is. Even the people that he says he's helping are tweeting things like, I don't understand how you sleep at night. Because he builds himself a swanky lake house and then says, I'm here for the downtrodden, the marginalized. Yeah. He purchased a guard dog for $40,000. What could go wrong with that? I mean, seems reasonable. Wow. But then, he goes on to threaten, reporters. Because, like they say, democracy dies in the darkness. So, you've heard that from the Washington Post, I think it is. Democracy dies in the darkness. See, Sean King doesn't want things written about him. He doesn't want his secrets being exposed. Because the truth dies in darkness. See? That's why the Post puts that on there. Because they're the ones trying to kill democracy. Much like King and some of the other BLM organizers or creators or whatever. Yeah. So here's some consequences for some people that deserve consequences. Some fentanyl dealers are going to see their plea offers go away. The new DA is like, no. If you did this by a school, we can't allow that. So she wants to make a policy that prohibits dealers arrested with 5 grams of drugs from being referred to San Francisco's Community Justice Court, which I'm assuming Community Justice Court means you're free to go now. But they're also going to add charging enhancements, such as dealing within 1,000 feet of a school. See, there you go. And she vowed that her prosecutors will potentially seek pretrial detention of fentanyl dealers in extreme cases. Yeah, because you have to. Look at some of these cases. Look at some of those. 308 grams of fentanyl. You know how many people that could kill? Yeah. Of the defendants with more than 2 open cases for drug dealing, all of them were offered misdemeanors. How is that going to stop anything? Slap on the wrist doesn't work to people who are immune to slap on the wrist. They're used to it. They'll absorb that and move on with life. Others won't because they'll be killed by fucking fentanyl. Bodine had not a single conviction in 2021 for dealing fentanyl. And that should be pretty easy. The police officer sees somebody, right? Sees somebody dealing fentanyl, arrests them, and finds fentanyl on them. Pretty sure he's a dealer. But no, because what happens is they cut all these plea deals. This is one of the ones that really, I guess, pissed off the new DA up there. There was a defendant who went to this community justice court 5 times. 5 times. They gave this dude 5, or the defendant, I shouldn't say, 5 chances. Did not stay away from the Tenderloin area and was arrested in the Tenderloin area on each subsequent new case. So this dude's given, again, I said dude, 5 chances and says, fuck you. Because they're drug dealers. Drug dealers don't care about shit like that. And you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. Change pace a little bit here. You reach a certain age and you start to realize that there's all these trends that come along. And there's all these scientific proclamations and health advocate proclamations. And every single time, it turns out that the alternative to what we had was actually worse. Or at least not better. Or more expensive and not better. Plant-based. Daily Harvest, a plant-based meal kit. 470 people are in the midst of a lawsuit because they got food poisoning, essentially. But it's because the ingredients of plant-based chemicals trigger allergic reactions. They make it out of fermented fungus. The fake chicken was developed with microprotein made from fermented fungus. Any marketing professional could have told the early investors that chicken fungus was never going to be the next new thing. Yeah, that's the gross side. Synthetic meat products are ultra processed, filled with preservatives, including loads of sodium. Fake chicken nuggets have more calories, more fat, and more sodium than real chicken nuggets. And although the Beyond Burger patty has slightly fewer calories, it has nearly 5 times the sodium. See, this is pre-consequence with this. Proteins that they say are equal are not. The protein found in fake chicken products, often soybean and wheat gluten, is not absorbed by the body as well as protein in real chicken. Similar pattern with imitation beef products. Look, eat less meat. Okay, great. But don't try to convince yourself that you're being healthy. Because to be vegan is a lot of work. It's a lot harder than people who aren't vegan think. Because there's a lot of vitamins, minerals, proteins that you get from meat and you get from dairy that you can't. You could replicate it, but it's never as good as the real thing. And it's loaded with salt. And salt's horrible for you. Huh. How did that? Look at that. There you go. Try to get through this as quickly as possible. It's just one story after the other, man. But how do we get to some of these consequences? Is it that we're being manipulated? Okay, and we're being manipulated by the media as a whole. A lot of media does this. A majority of media, I think, does this. Where they have headlines and then they bury the truth in the story. So they can say that they have integrity, that they reported the story truthfully, but they leave out key things in the headlines. There was one I remember, may have covered it, but, I don't remember. But, where they said the entire police force quits when a black woman is hired. They leave out the fact that their previous boss was a black woman. It had nothing to do with her being black or a woman. It had to do with her management style. And that's not until way down the page. And here we do again. Witnesses defend off-duty D.C. police officer who shot man at wharf. You would never know it from some media headlines, but Commander Jason Bagshaw risked his life to stop a gun-wielding criminal last month in Washington, D.C. Basically, the guy was going to open fire on a crowded bar. Bagshaw engaged him and took him out. Yet the media wanted to crucify the heroic police officer. Why? Mainly because the suspect was black and the police was white. Later reports show that Wilson had already used his gun to steal $30,000. But it doesn't matter that he was the criminal that threatened people's lives or endangered restaurant patrons. The media wanted to tell a different story. There it is, the Washington Post, whose slogan, "Democracy dies in the darkness," looked to keep its audience in the dark with the headline, "DC police shooting of man at wharf reignites old debates." Well, what was the debate? The guy was going to open fire on a restaurant. A police officer took him down. What debate? What? What should he have done? He was off duty, so he wasn't carrying any other option. He had his off-duty weapon with him and took the guy down. He did nothing wrong. But look at the headline. The headline makes you think that it must be a wrong shooting. If it reignited the debates. See? Another article. DC police commander who shot man at wharf is known for aggressive tactics. Well, police officers have to be aggressive. I don't see how they couldn't be. The outlet thought it was more important to try and vilify an officer fending off a criminal than perhaps to investigate the criminal. They investigated the police. This is how bad the anti-police sentiment is in the media. The left is so obsessed with protecting criminals who prey on the innocent rather than heroic police officers. What are the consequences of this? I don't have to explain it to you. What are we looking right here? There we go. But sitting behind a computer in the comfort of their office or home, they can craft a different agenda-driven narrative. It's cowardly and disgraceful. Yeah. People have to live with crime around every corner. It's a fact of life. The only thing out there, especially here in California, is the police. We're not allowed to defend ourselves here. So earlier, we were mentioning the tax credit for EVs. 70% of EV models will not qualify. Why? Because their batteries are not sourced in the United States. Great. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. Make 70% of the 72 electric and plug-in hybrid and fuel cell EVs ineligible. Isn't that great? And it's always plug-in, too, because again, somebody needs to get the money. They don't want like a true hybrid where the gas engine charges the batteries. No, they don't want that. Plug it in. Without the tax credit, the vehicles become more costly. There you go. So how are they ever going to reach that goal? Half of the new vehicles sold. Last year, 5%. So in 7 years, roughly 7 years, it's going to go to 50%. Yeah. Okay. Even if it grows by 5% a year, it's still not going to make that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, skipping a few things right there. This is what we have to look forward to. This is why we need to, as an independent, or as a centralist, we really need to hope that we get some strong candidates coming from either the right or the middle. Because it's not going to be Biden. I think we know that. Warren, Newsom, Buttigieg, or Kamala. Or the return of Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. Yeah. Wow. Those are... Yes, Alex, I'll take 6 people who shouldn't be president for 500. Holy shit. South Korean president skips in-person meeting with Pelosi. World leaders can see right through these people. Okay, so she went over there to simply distract people from the fact that her husband's trial was about to start, and the fact that apparently there were injuries in this accident, and apparently he was pretty fucked up. So this wasn't like a little fender bender with a little too much wine. No, this was full-on drunk, people getting hurt. Does anyone else find it ironic that the American Rescue Plan not only didn't rescue America, but it helped plunge us into a recession? No, I don't find it ironic. I find it sad. And I'm fucking sick of it. That's why Purple State exists. I'm sick of this bullshit from both sides. It seems like Kamala Harris puts her finger to the wind and decides what she's going to be angry about on any given day. Tulsi. Yeah. People could say she's just saying that stuff to get on TV, but, you read enough of her stuff and you realize that, she believes in what she believes in. Right or wrong, I would rather be dealing with people who believe in what they believe in, who practice what they preach, who have some common sense. Liz Cheney, she got her dad or grandpa or whatever the fuck he is, I don't give a shit, to come out and say that the worst thing in the world ever is Donald Trump. Trump. He lives in your head rent-free. She doesn't even mention Wyoming because all she cares about is Liz Cheney. I might even agree with her, but I can't because she's a whack job. She's like a lot of the whack jobs on the right and the left. I don't listen to them. Never has America faced a greater threat than Donald Trump, says guy who started 2 wars and shot a dude in his face. Yep. There you go. That's how mental it's gotten. Okay. FBI adds itself to the FBI watch list. Yeah. White House hires the "this is fine, dog" as new press secretary. Oh, man, the bee. Pelosi arrested for running the country while under the influence. Oh, the bee, man. See, the bee doesn't always have to be political. NFL sentences Deshaun Watson to 3 years of playing for the Cleveland Browns. Oh, come on, folks. Putin says he will only trade Brittney Griner for a first edition foil Charizard. Nerd alert, I get the joke. Putin awards self-medal of freedom for dropping gas prices. Biden drone accidentally kills terrorist leader instead of car full of children. Oh, man. The funniest humor is the darkest. I just put this one in here because I just found this response to be funny. So this guy says he's replying to something. We'll see what he was replying to later. 20 years ago, I wrote my dissertation on the lack of male role models. Wish I could find a copy. Sadly, it was handwritten, all 10,000 words, and it had to be typed up by the only person in town with a computer. And then they used the laughing sad emoji. Johnny responds, what town only had one computer in 2002? That's great. Oh, man. And so we have two winners this week, both from the B. I don't think there's any surprise there. Alex Jones ordered to pay frog community $4.1 million for calling them gay. They're putting stuff in the water. It's making the frogs gay. Sounded more like Hulk Hogan. Making the frogs gay, brother. Wife proposes household debt reduction act where she spends thousands of dollars at Target. Oh, man. We're literally trying that right now. We're going to get out. Our Inflation Reduction Act is going to be a bunch of blown money. Oh, God. Please, folks, think about common sense. So earlier, a guy who had his 10,000-page report lost the annals of history was responding to this. This is from Zuby, man. This is kind of high praise to me personally. I take this personally. All of the people who warned us about the slippery slope 10 to 30 years ago have been proven 100% correct. Yeah. And that's what it's about. Look, I try to only argue on common sense and the slippery slope that we face when we do these things. We've been saying this for years in California. I've been saying it for decades in California. When you put the wildlife and the undergrowth ahead of fire prevention, all you get is a burnt down forest and a bunch of dead animals. When you want to have green energy, but you don't want to talk about nuclear. We already saw this in Germany. One of the articles I skipped today was about some of the dangers of young people transitioning and how Europe has already proven this, and Europe has already changed the way they handle that. They have a therapy first model. Okay? They don't just snip and say, hey, go enjoy Pokemon. No. There are slippery slopes, and there are things that have to be approached with common sense. I want us to be a greener planet, and I know someday we will. And we will find a way to reverse this. Or the earth is going to get back in line and things will clear up. I don't know. Okay? I know what I believe, and that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the fact that we are rushing things right now. Things sound really good, but they're a slippery slope. When we all buy in and use these rebates to get electric cars, and then we have blackouts, we're going to see the consequences. When the cars get old and we can't afford a new one and we can't afford a battery, we will be taking the bus, which is what they want. The elite don't care about the peasants, but we elect the elite. We are the ones who put them there. If we stop putting elitists in positions of power and maybe put peasants in a position of power, maybe we can get somewhere. Maybe on a state-by-state level. Maybe as the president. There is a lot of negative energy out there surrounding DeSantis. Yes, he has passed some stuff that's a little bit controversial. But at the same time, he has also done a lot of common sense stuff. And I don't think he's an elite because he's worth less than Becky Griner or Brittney Griner. See y'all. Copious out.